Hello everyone, and today we're going to do part 2 of how Netflix should adapt Ben 10 into live action. And today we're going to talk about Alien Force seasons 1 through 3. Let's start with the first season, season 1, which covers like 3 volumes. We're going to cut some small stuff out of it just so we can make the story feel a little more serialized and connected. Season 1 is 13 episodes long, so we're going to cut out some filler episodes and manage to connect others together, so it's more serialized in that manner. Episodes 1 through 5 will mostly be left untouched. We're going to jump to episode 7 and episode 9 and mix those episodes together. Episodes 10 through 12 happen accurately, mostly unchanged. We have episode 6 happen here, then we mix episode 13 and episode 8 together. Since they've now finally revealed Alien X, it's going to be used more meaningly because now he's going to ask them to bring back Grandpa Max. Of course, they eventually get to him and turn him down, end up cheering him up, saying what Grandpa would do, or give him hope that he might still be alive or that he can persevere through his recent loss. And that wraps up all of season 1. We'll also still have the hybrid antagonists, but there's going to be one that we'll always root against, much like Zhao from Avatar: The Last Airbender. In fact, I might even put him in season 3 with the giant hybrid plant thing. He's like the unlikable one that's more jealous of the main characters. He could be the one from the first video game. He could be the one that went with Grandpa Max. He could be the one that we root against throughout season 2. So now we're up to season 2, and mostly I wouldn't like to change too much. Mostly I'm going to make less changes here. We begin the season with episodes 1 to 3. The hybrid from the first episode would be Roni, and it would directly link with the second one by having the portal in Darkstar's hideout. I'll add small quick scenes of Albedo destroying castles and hives that were originally off screen throughout the beginner part. Episodes 4 to 9 would mostly be left untouched. You can have Ben's dad watch any of those encounters that happened before that chapter. Episode 10 with the airy Nezuko-minded alien would be cut. Can connect the Simian chapter a little more with the previous episode. You get to the season finale 2-parter where everything is mostly the same, but you could add the dragon coming back with an army to help the main characters, and then that could have the Forever Knights, and the stakes would be even higher. You can have a final climactic fight with the main antagonistic hybrid, General. And when we get to the finale, of course they're going to have their DNA altered. They do get punished and they do pay for the damage. They try to learn from their mistakes. There are going to be some hybrids that do protest, which could lead to season 3. And yes, they do adapt some small tie-in comics for montages. Might add scenes or insert them to flesh out Gwen's character arc. I have thought about calling the movies seasons much like how Star Wars calls their movies episodes. I like to add 2008 and 2009 anime and games references, like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, reference the years both seasons came out. Have 2011 anime and game references like for Future Diary and Portal 2, reference this taking place in 2011. But anyway, that is all of season 2. Now we're up to season 3, and this is where I can make some good changes that don't stray too far, and I do know that this season's hated by the most and the majority of fans, but I'll represent 2 options on where this could go. I'll keep Ben's character consistent with season 1 and 2. Episodes 1 through 3 will be okay. Cut out episode 4. Episode 5 and 6 are going to have small connections to Vilgax. Episodes 6 and 7 together. We're going to have a little short scene of Kevin and Ben on court. The main antag hybrid that I was talking about, yeah, he's got his own team. He activates the giant plant hybrid. Roni tries to convince him and his mates to redeem themselves, I guess. The only difference with episode 9 is that Charmcaster has better writing this time. We get to episode 10, it crashes right when our main trio beats Charmcaster, so we can be more connected. Our Ghost Freak is actually in a Null Void prison with Ragnarok, and Vilgax breaks them both out, so we actually get to adapt one scene a little earlier, is that Ragnarok escapes early and joins Vilgax. Now we get to the second half where Darkstar calls Kevin. Everything plays out the same for the most part when it comes to episode 11. Kevin gets his powers. They do cut to the big battle with Darkstar instead of what happens in the middle. I thought about cutting out episode 13 and then just putting Wrath in episode 12. I also thought that I could just trim out episode 13 to just Ben gets Wrath, Ben fights this devil guy. And after Ben turns back into Wrath after fighting the cube, Ben and his friends teleport to Primus because I don't want them to just fight a random encounter. I would have liked to have them fight the cube that we see instead of just a mundane fight. I'm cutting out episode 15. There's no real progress made in this, and I honestly hate what they do with the whole time travel concept. When we get to episode 16, we're going to cut out the tunnel sequence, and we'll actually introduce Ragnarok here. And trust me, yes, the crystal will actually have an importance later on in this season. So all I'm saying is episode 17 through 20 is going to be mostly accurate, except for small changes now. I might add the Plumber's Helpers in scenes that flesh out their characters and their relationships with the trio. And I might have them be in the fillers of this movie, like with the Busy Box. Episode 18, I would also like the Plumber's Helpers to also contribute and help Kevin fight Ragnarok. Kevin supposedly kills him after that. Mostly it's pretty normal, but Kevin would also start to have some turmoil after supposedly killing Ragnarok. Not to mention this, but in the beginning of the movie, or at least after the first fight with Vilgax, Albedo finishes making his Ultimatrix, or it could be him making the Ultimatrix throughout the film. I also just want to say that Vilgax is not going to be reduced. He's actually going to be just as smart as he is from the classic. Still have Superman's powers. Instead of the team fighting a random encounter, it picks up right after episode 18 left off. Ben orders pizza, ramen, and sushi while he's watching Sumo Slammer Hero Generations and starts to eat like Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. I would even argue that he's actually watching with some of the Plumber's Helpers, like Cooper. Most of what happens plays out normally, except that Grandpa brings the Plumber's Helpers to prove that it was still not enough, and actually apologizes to Azimuth while in the rain. I might add small character moments for Albedo to flesh out his semi-redemption arc here. Vilgax is actually going to use the Chromastone crystal and the thing that Ragnarok was after. His plans in a way. Max still brings the Plumber's Helpers kids here, and then turns out Vilgax is actually most of the Rose Gallery from this season, except for the Busy Box. Whoever is dead. And surprising plot twist, Ragnarok has actually been turned into a cyborg by Siphon and Vilgax. However, Ben still activates a self-destruct sequence, and everything still plays out mostly the same here. However, the robots still maintain some of the essence of the aliens, so they can still turn into them whenever. They would have symbols too. Albedo still sides with Ben and gives him the Ultimatrix. While Grandpa Max, Gwen, and Albedo are at the control room, Ben, Kevin, the Plumber's Helpers are all fighting Siphon, the Rose Gallery, Bioids, and Vilgax. We get some creative combos here too. Ends with some of the recurring antagonists retreating somewhere else and teleporting, and the robots are destroyed. Vilgax turns into his normal form. After turning into Ultimate Swampfire, Ben turns into Jetray and flies back with everyone else surviving. Albedo, he gets on an escape ship, so he's fine. Plus, Ragnarok dies here for real this time. There's a post-credits scene that might tease the next season for Ultimate Alien. And that's how it'll adapt season 3. I'm pretty sure I've done a better job than the original. As insufferable as season 3 was, at least they didn't get to ruin Albedo. It's not like they ruin everything they touch. Second option is to adapt Ben 10 Vilgax attacks and sprinkle some stuff in from season 3, like Sunder, the first 2 episodes of season 3 before the game, and then right when we get to the climax, you start to adapt the last 2 episodes in. And you get to add some episodes in, like with the Ghost Freak one and Primus. And it's almost like Ben 10 Vilgax Attacks was an alternative version of Season 3. But that is it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you subscribe, share, like, and comment.